Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Land, Your Lifestyle podcast, presented to you by Land and Lifestyle Properties Group, right here in our recording studio in downtown Evansville, Wisconsin. Today, I have my trusty co-host, Melanie Eula,
Hey, everybody.
and we have a special guest in-house today, don't we?
We do.
We've got a brand new agent.
Hello.
Her name,
Not brand new, but new to the team.
New to the
New-
team.
new to the
Brand
team.
new to
Yes.
the team. Yeah.
Yep.
right.
She's officially on board.
Yes. But I am still a newborn.
Welcome, Ari.
Thank you guys.
Well, let's just jump right into it. You've been in the real estate business before. You recently joined our team. Tell us a little bit about what your background is and what you like about real estate, and
How you
we'll
got
go from
here?
there.
Yeah. Okay. So I got my license in 2021 and did real estate for about a week to just kind of reevaluate where I was at because I had little experience. It was only a year. So I just kind of wanted to reevaluate where I was and where I wanted to go. Took a break, got back into it in October of 2023, and worked for a little bit of time at a different brokerage in a different town in Wisconsin. And I had originally got into real estate because of Melanie and conversations that we had had back in 2019 because she was in it. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling for me, was seeing her doing it and having conversations with her, and her encouragement. And so when I knew it was time for me to make a switch, then she's my first call, and that's how I got here with you guys.
Awesome. What do you like best about real estate? What's the most rewarding part of the job?
The most rewarding part is definitely, when it sounds cliche, but like, for lack of better terms, like helping people, then they want something so badly and it's a really big deal to them, and then it's a really big deal to me, and seeing how happy they become with the choices that I can help them, guide them through. That's 110% the most rewarding and my favorite.
The emotions that come
Yes.
with, I mean, it's the biggest purchase of their life. And you get to be there for that and just hand holding them and educating them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
when
with that
I was,
end, knowing it's done, just the emotions that come out of them.
when I was taking my classes for real estate, I remember saying I'm probably going to cry at every closing because I'm so happy and passionate about helping them. I'm going to cry.
That's passion. That's okay. It's okay to cry as long as they're happy tears.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's just really, really rewarding. It makes me feel good to be able to help people.
Yeah, especially the people that never think that they'll ever own a house,
Yeah.
or they think it's so hard to buy a house. It's not.
Yeah.
It's finding the right person that's willing to teach them.
And that's really exciting too, when people have felt so stuck for such a long time, and then you can give them options like, hey, actually, it's not as hard as you think it is. That's always, sometimes I feel like I'm more excited for them because I know what they can have and what we can do, and they don't even know yet.
So bouncing off of that, if the deal doesn't go through or if their offer doesn't get accepted, how do you deal with the flip side emotions of that?
I actually,
It's a loaded question, but I
Yeah.
remember that that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's learning how to overcome it. But how do
For
you
sure.
deal with it personally?
it's always really tough, and I always make sure to remember how discouraging that is for them. But I truly, truly believe that if it's meant to be yours, it will be yours.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's kind of what I really try to tell my clients and people that I work with. Like, it wasn't meant to be yours.
There's better out there.
Yeah.
We'll find it. Yeah.
Like, whatever you have envisioned for your future, this home or this property was not going to lead you to that. It wasn't supposed to be yours. We'll find it. It doesn't make it necessarily hurt less, but I hope that can sort of provide a little bit of encouragement, because I think it's true.
I do. And, I think that for me, and thinking back at all the deals that I've been through, all the ones that fell through, they were happier in the end that it fell through, because then the perfect house came up. So it's funny how that unfolds. But
yeah, it can be hard to see that at the time. And I get that. It's when I was going through purchasing a house, it's very emotionally taxing. So I get
Representing buyers, to me, overall, just having not done a ton of it in the past, is
it's emotional.
it's an emotional roller coaster. It's a lot of work, especially when you're talking about a first time home buyer in the market that we're in. The chances of you getting an offer accepted with that first time home buyer and all of the essentially roadblocks that are in their way, it can be pretty challenging. And then to try and explain that to the clients, I think that for me has been the biggest frustration.
Yeah.
Do you think we have to learn how to educate? And it's a process for them too. At the end they end up, realizing it, but it's getting them there too. And, especially those first time home buyers or VA loans, they can't bring any money to closing. They need the sellers to credit them. The deck is just kind of stacked against them. So keeping them motivated, I think it teaches us, kind of molds us and shapes us in a way to deal with those.
Yeah.
But just so everybody knows, there's no way that we hurt any less than they do.
No.
Those phone calls, they're terrible.
Yeah, I just got chills
To
when you
find
said
out.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the selling side, when you've got a house that you've got listed for sale and you end up with 10 offers, you've got to ruin 9 people's day, and no one gets out of bed and says, I'm excited about ruining 9 people's days. Right. Certainly we'd be lying if we were saying that we aren't excited to get our client an accepted offer, but it's still tough.
Sometimes it's still hard though, depending on people's situations. Mm-hmm. And when we host those open houses and we hear people's stories, the emotional part, that's our job, is to remove the emotions. However, that's not that easy to do. It really
humans.
So outside of that phone call and letting them know, we all fall apart a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because we feel a little bit of that defeat, even though we know, right? Mm-hmm. We have the optimism, we know what's going to happen, but
we still know how they feel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to take Melanie's question just a step farther, what's the most frustrating part of the job?
That's a good question.
What's the most painful part of the job, besides not knowing when you're going to get paid?
Yeah, that's a little, yeah. I would it probably falls on truly the emotions or discouragement of the people that I'm working with. Because sometimes, as much as sometimes it is harder for people to understand, we have a better understanding, as we should. That's what we're here for. But getting them through the process of understanding and fully comprehending all of the steps, and it's not what they wanted to hear, and there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, this is what it is, and I can't fix that. I can't negotiate out of this. That's definitely the most painful part.
When you have a buyer that thinks they know more the market better, that's hard, because people, you don't want to tell them they're wrong, but look, we live and breathe this every day.
Can be setting themselves up for disappointment, and I don't want that. I want them to be as prepared as possible, and all I can do is give them the information that I have and hope that they can still see the other side, because sometimes it's hard for people to do that, and that's normal. But I can't fix it.
I mean, let's put it this way. You don't want to go and test drive a G-Wagon if you have a budget for like a RAV4. So that sets you up to fail.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, because what happens is they fall in love with something that they can't have. Yeah. So that doesn't do us any favors. Mm-hmm. And then we're trying to reel them back in. But to just be blunt, it's an emotional, it's a balance we have to make all the time. So
you're trying to care for them, and it's not like momming.
It is. What I will say is there's this gap of, I believe, where parents, grandparents aren't having these conversations anymore. They're not coaching their kids on buying and saving and the importance of a credit score, or, just opening up those accounts and trying to build and deposit your money. How many kids do we know that are just keeping them in a safe?
a lot.
They all are. So it's not that they don't have money. It's not that you guys don't have money. It's the point that it's not in an account. So to a bank, right?
Right.
You can't prove to them. And then what ends up happening, we see this over and over again. One big deposit is made into an account, and now they can't prove where it came from. So it's that consistency over time. But I think that there's a lack. Maybe it's in the schools. I don't really remember where I learned it from, other than just being around my parents and family and grandparents. And they're always talking, about finances and your credit. But I don't know why that is such. There's a lack of education.
You must have been paying it. There must have been people having those conversations around you, because I did not. There were not people around me having those conversations. I was not.
I didn't even know you could have no credit score. It's not that you have a bad credit.
Right.
Until really that wave of first time home buyers in my career started, and I'm like, how don't you mean
Yeah.
there's no record of you. But it's all
hard
over.
learning
It
in
is
your
very hard
adult
learning.
life. And they didn't teach me in school. They taught me how to play a recorder and square dance. I wasn't taught about credit scores or anything like
Sure.
that. So
The
I had
next
to
show's
figure
going
it
to be
out.
on square dancing
I yodeled.
and yodeling.
Oh,
you
hidden
really
tails are
yodel?
exposed. I had to. I'm not even Swiss. My mom made me get in the outfit
I'm
up
going to
on
need there
stage.
to be some sort of proof of that. You heard it here first.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the market and what trends we're seeing here regionally, at least in Wisconsin. And I would say we represent the whole state, but it's probably more accurate to say if you're south of Stevens Point, we've probably
Yes.
hit your mailbox or in some way, shape, or form had some sort of communication over the last few years.
We're your local traveling gypsies.
Exactly. We all have vehicles with 100,000 miles on them.
Yeah.
And they don't sit still very often. The tank, unless you're Melanie, doesn't get below a quarter tank.
Oh yeah, my truck turns into a Tesla.
Yeah.
So it dings really
Or
loud,
not.
just so you know, like an alarm, like an atomic bomb alarm. If my seatbelt's not on, but if I'm about to run out of gas, doesn't want to say anything.
It's just a subtle reminder until it runs out of gas and it tells you that it's going to shut down in 5 miles.
So do you notice that it's slow and just keep going, or you just don't notice because it's so subtle?
Right.
That's a high risk
We
scenario.
coasted. We're on batteries though. We got the hybrid. So
I was at the Quick Trip in Fox Lake. I left Mel at an open house because we had to get to our next open house. And I said, I'm going to run and get gas. And as luck would have it, the truck literally started to flash at me a few miles out. And by the time I got to the gas station, it was on electric, and then it said it was shutting down. And as luck would have it, I had the good fortune of having a couple. There was actually 4 young guys there, and I'm like, hey, would you guys help me push this?
So it was like right.
We didn't have to push it far.
he made it into the drive of the gas
And
station.
then just had to give it.
a little coast.
Oh.
Yep. But what
What did we learn from that?
no, I think we know what we learned from that. But what are you seeing, either of you, in the market in terms of residential stuff?
Residential's, it's steady. Not a whole lot. I mean, the spring's been, I think that it's just been slow, but we just got hit with another blizzard, and I don't think anybody feels like spring is truly here, but it's here. So I think that the market's really going to start to pick up. Right now, we're still seeing a lot of those, summer properties, the lake properties that didn't sell last year, now back on the market. Still a lot of, just random properties, but properties are listed and off the market if it's a normal residential home. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, 1,800 square foot. We're still seeing the 48-hour turnaround on those.
Right. I don't think we've had an open house that we've hosted in the last 6 weeks where we didn't have an accepted offer by Tuesday after that Saturday or Sunday open house.
Yeah. Not a lot of investment properties, investor flip properties. They're either, really bad and overpriced, I think, to the point that they're not worth rehabbing. Or of course they're under a Fannie Mae situation
Right.
foreclosed on. And those have to be owner occupied. So, unfortunately, those ones are off limits for that. So I think the market's pretty slow as far as, rural areas. I think more like there's a lot of estates and trusts that are coming up. But the residential is pretty steady.
I do feel like it is interesting because you do see both where homes are sitting for a longer time, but you are still seeing a 48-hour turnaround. So there's a little bit of both.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of the ones that are out there. They're they're the overpriced ones. They're overpriced for what they are. So, and those sellers are just sitting. They're sitting still. So
People always inevitably will ask, how the market is, and my standard answer to them is, if you have a good property that's priced correctly, it will sell. Period. It's just going to. There's still, if you look at the year over year data from even 2 years ago, so 21 or 22 to 23 and 23 to 24, the gap in that line in terms of whether it's a volume or average days on market or average price, whatever it is pretty much a carbon copy. Now, the level at which they're at, like the median home sale price, has come up about $20,000.
it has.
But that's not that much different than the year prior. So we're seeing, the same trends. What we still have is a market where, let's say there's 100 buyers and there's only 75 houses to sell. So we're at least 75 houses that they, qualify for. Or
Sure. Yeah, I was just gonna say
that's
properties
on
that
their
are
list of places to check out.
correct.
And I would say that the land market is, without a doubt, been the busiest that I've seen in terms of prices going up, particularly in some of the northern counties that we represent. We've seen prices jump in many cases $2,000 an acre.
Yeah.
And land that
Adams
2
County
years
has
ago
really increased a lot.
Yeah, Adams, Juneau. We haven't seen it as much in the southwest part of the state or the southeast part of the state.
Not any major jumps, but I mean, it's still steadily coming up though.
And why do you think that is?
I was just going to ask that. Like, why do you think that
There's still a lot of it's farmed over there. They're big farmers that are owned. I think that the price per acre has always been on the higher side though. So
in the southwest?
Yeah,
definitely. And I think the reason that we've seen that jump in Marquette, Adams, Juneau is because particularly, I guess let me clarify that a little bit. Rec land, so hunting ground, that kind of ground is definitely jumped up. Ag ground has stayed pretty level.
Yeah, rec land really.
Slower.
Rec land became so popular when COVID came around, though, when everybody was stuck inside, and now everybody wanted to get back outside. So,
right.
From that side perspective, it was really good. But yes, it drove the market up drastically on the rec land.
Like I was having to eat crow while taking Trevor through the process of buying his property, because I'm like, there's no way that land is worth $6,000 an acre. It's never going to appraise, never going to appraise, never going to appraise. But all it takes, I could say that
sells.
today.
Yep.
And if the folks' property down the road sells and it's a cash deal that closes in 15 days, that's going to hit the market and hit the comp sheet and become a comparable that any appraiser can use. And well, now you just made a case for $6,000 an acre.
Well, and unfortunately, the ones that get sold off of the market are sold at, I would say, fair value, right? Yeah. Those ones aren't recorded publicly, so the appraiser doesn't grab onto those when they're figuring out the average.
Right.
So that's the tough part.
Yeah, they're recorded publicly, like in terms of the courthouse and all that stuff. But any data an appraiser is going to pull, unless they're really going over and above, and going off MLS, it makes it hard. We just ran into a situation, and I won't go down that rabbit hole, but we could talk about appraisals and the factors that contribute to a bad appraisal and a good appraisal for hours. But I think overall, the reason that we've seen the jump in those northern counties is because people have recognized that there's value in owning ground up there.
Yeah.
And we've had the good fortune of representing some really nice places recently, whether it's dirt or whether there's a structure on it. We've had some really nice places to sell, and they've gone quick.
Yeah, everybody wants to get out on the weekends and have up their own place. So,
Yeah.
And I think as it got broke up into smaller pieces and everybody started going up there, and the reason it probably attracted people was because of the price. It was kind of a dead zone. Nobody
Right.
was like, "Oh, I'm going to Adams County this weekend." Now there's so many people that are going up there, so it was affordable. And then it still got people outside. So I think they just looked at it through a different scope. It became usable in their hobby life, So that's really what happened up there.
I think,
it was kind of just tucked away. Nobody talked about it. And when COVID hit and people started really looking for land, that was the most affordable option, in a drivable distance from south. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And coming from, as far south as even Rockford, it's not that big of a deal to drive
No, not
to
at all.
Adams. It's an hour and 40 minutes. It's certainly doable. We do that every day. That
we
like
follow
an hour
Illinois
drive
license
for us
plates
is-
all day long, don't we?
Right,
They're all
right.
heading north. So
Always,
Exactly.
Yes.
always heading north.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think buyers overall in the rec land part, or in the rec land segment have become more savvy in understanding that, even though it says, whatever the county is, particularly in those northern counties that we talked about, there's deer everywhere in Wisconsin, and there's turkeys everywhere in Wisconsin, and there's room to do what you want to do. And we've had some clients that had some pretty specific needs that ended up buying stuff that you wouldn't have expected them to buy, just because we were able to put together a plan and implement that plan. And we'll actually have some shows on that coming up with Operation Trevor.
Operation Trevor.
Yeah, that's been a fun undertaking. Any wins you want to talk about?
Any wins?
I think my win is joining this team for
I
sure.
think that's your win.
That's
for
the
sure.
right answer.
Like, for sure.
That was a test.
Yeah,
You passed.
like 100%. It's been very, very exciting to learn. I've learned so much already just since I've switched over, and it's only been official
Are
for
we on 48 hours?
like a couple of days,
Yeah.
like through the whole transition. But even just talking with you guys before, I've learned so much, and yeah, that's definitely the win, being a part of this and growing our family unit.
Well, and the advantage that we have too is we all bring such unique.
We're all different.
So different,
Yeah.
but we bring such a unique blend
Yes.
of our backgrounds that together we could just cover.
If I can't speak that language,
Yes.
you can,
Yes.
or Mel can, or Jason can, and we all have different strengths. I really love that too.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. I don't know if it's you that did it, or
I think it's me.
yeah. We've just been really fortunate lately to not only represent some good sellers, but represent some good buyers, and turn that into, I guess, a wave of success. So we've been super busy, and we've had a hard time getting in the studio here to record a show, but
It's been hard to get more than a nap in.
yeah,
It's
no
been
naps.
very cool to watch. Like it really has.
Yeah.
It's been, I had never seen anything in this industry where people functioned the way that you two did, and it was very refreshing and exciting to see, because it was like you always have an idea of what something's going to be like before you get into it.
Yeah.
And that was always what I had pictured, and to see you guys in action is really very cool. It's definitely,
Thank you.
yeah.
I
I
appreciate
love
We think so
watching.
too.
You should. You should, because that was always, it's stuck out to me since I first started kind of coming around and seeing you guys.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that I'm passionate about is people being authentically who they are, and what you can't just recreate passion.
No.
You're either passionate about it or you're not. So, as you ask me things that, where you are going to go in your, for goals, like which avenue are you going to go on to? And like, it's like, here's a blank canvas. What do you want it to look like?
Yeah.
So draw your goals, draw your world. In a perfect world, what's it look like? I don't want anybody to fit inside of a box. Doesn't work here. We're not box people. So
no, it's beautiful.
I'm excited to see the canvas though that you paint and just all the future, like where the career takes you.
I get tears in my eyes like at least 75 times a day. Like talking and like talking and working with you right now. But no, it's just very beautiful and the energy is just pure and authentic, and I am just very appreciative of that, of being in that space with people who also hold that space. It's just very beautiful, and I just love it.
Right, now it's just time to grow.
I'm always living in a glass case of emotion all the time.
Do you want to talk about the event that we're going to be
yes
sponsoring?
Yes. So we are going to be sponsoring. It's like a wine walk is what it is, and it is on the 10th of May from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so what it is you can come into the office and see everything that we have here. We'll all be here hanging out. We're going to have matching shirts. We don't know what they are yet, but they're going to be good. And so we will have some refreshments for grown-ups and maybe some for little children too.
Yep, juice boxes and things.
We'll have some non-alcoholic options.
Jello shots. No?
Not Jello shots, no.
We could just do, NA.
They'll get mixed.
You're right. Yeah. But it's an entire event for downtown Evansville, right?
It is, yeah.
Yes. So I'd never been to Evansville before until I came here, and it is the cutest little town that I've ever seen. We're right on a little brick road, and there's so many shops. And I told Melanie because it was very cold a couple weeks ago, that I couldn't wait until it warmed up so that I could just go for walks and see all of the little shops. And that's kind of what it is. It's just encouraging everyone to come out and get to know each other and talk to the community and come into our office and see us because we want to see you. We want to talk to you.
The other thing is we're going to be sponsoring a local musician. So there will be live music right in the front window. So stop on in and have a couple drinks and get to know us. And
when is it again?
It's May 10th.
May 10th, and it starts at 5?
5 to 8.
So if you want to come, the address here is 15 West Main Street in Evansville, right in downtown Evansville. So.
In the Wisco.
So in addition to the art walk, we're going to be doing some business spotlights, and we've got, I think, 3 local businesses right here in Evansville that we're going to send Hunter and I in, and we'll do the camera work. Hunter's going to do the camera work, and I'll stand there and watch.
We're going to highlight everything that their business is about, who the owner is,
and then
really tell their story.
Invite them in studio, and we'll record another podcast here and spotlight that business. There's really so much to offer here in Evansville, which was so surprising for me too.
Yeah.
When Melanie took me here the first time, I was like, wow, this is
no
pretty
idea.
cool.
It was the brick road.
It has to be one of the cleanest, liveliest downtowns that really is existing around.
Beginning
I can't
at
say
5 a.m., like the coffee shops here.
Yeah.
They love coffee here.
Big farming community.
A storybook.
Yes,
Right.
it is. It is. Yeah, in Christmas time, it's just so perfect. It is beautiful.
So a couple things that you can expect, and you guys can add to this. We're going to do business spotlight coming up. We've got Operation Trevor. If you haven't seen any of the things that we've been doing over in Berlin or Red Granite, we've got a land management plan we implemented there. We just started that 2 weeks ago, I think it is, and
all the big boy toys.
All the big boy toys. We had a forestry mower over there. We cut down roughly an acre of pine trees and then tilled up the ground. Today, Trevor's actually out there right now spreading lime and fertilizer on it just to get the soil healthy enough so it'll grow the plants that we need it to. And from there, we'll be doing a couple other things, but we're going to have a lot of that stuff on video, and we're going to bring it as a show, maybe once a month or something like that. But
it'd be a lot of fun to watch it grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fun process so far.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, yep. And we'll have Trevor and Jamie in studio to talk about their buying process, because that was really my first. I think my first real world experience on the land side, at least, having to sift through
working with a buyer.
literally
Yes.
hundreds of listings trying to
Yes.
find the right one for this buyer. So it was
It was his first, yes.
I got lucky with them because they were super patient, and I got to learn a lot.
Trusting.
They got to learn a lot,
Yeah.
and we developed a relationship, and eventually got one done. It took us 3.5 months. And
How far did we drive to that one property? And I looked at the incline on the hill, and I'm like, you can't let him do that, or Jamie is going to be, his wife was going to.
Really?
Yeah, no.
we just got to the point where, he's working a full-time job, she's working a full-time job, and he's like, go look at it for me. If you tell me to buy it, I'll buy it. And like that day or the night before, we're talking on the phone, and we're, trying to decide what he should offer and this and that. And we had every intention, did we not?
Yes.
Of going over there. And I got over there, and we just both looked at each other, and we're like, we can't do this to them.
I came around the hillside, and I was like, if you bought this and told me this is where we were deer hunting at, like, unless you're putting a ski lift in, there's no way I'm getting to the top of that. And by the time you get up there, like, you're staying.
And talk
There's
about
no
breaking-
coming back for breakfast.
Right.
There's no coming back for any breaks. You're going to stay at the top of that mountain. So, I mean,
That's
it
a
was
phone call I'll never forget.
Yeah.
When we pulled over there off the highway, off of 61 there, and we called Trevor, and he's like, "Tell me the good news." And
Because
I'm
they were
like,
expecting to.
He was
move
hoping for good
forward.
news, and I said, "You're not buying this property.
no.
I wouldn't buy this property."
There's where that
being-
downside comes in.
It is, but being that honest,
Yeah.
you have to form that trust, and you have to.
it's a different story when you have been given someone's checkbook essentially, and
Yes.
they're saying, "Write a check for me,"
Yeah.
but
Lucky
protect
for
my
most
money.
people, I'm the pickiest person, so we're fine.
It wasn't a hard decision, but it
No.
was a hard thing to
Yeah.
try and convey to somebody that hasn't seen it.
Right. And who had their hopes
Because
up.
he was like, "Oh, really? Are the hills that steep?" I'm like, "Bro, they're steep. They're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to go down before you could even go up. Just the contour of the land. So
You couldn't, in good conscience. Yeah. No, we don't want to do
no,
that.
it was like I don't remember how many feet of elevation it changed within a yard, but I want to say it was close to 10 to 12 inches of elevation change inside of, maybe it was 3 yards. I don't remember. It was a
unless
lot.
you're
It
a
was
rock
like this.
climber, you're not going to be
Yeah.
happy. So
It was like that. It went like that. The whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we couldn't, in good conscience, tell them that. But anyway, they ended up on a different property, and,
found
and
the
that
right
was
property.
Yep.
that was the
Wasn't
goal,
theirs.
is to find something that we could sort of play with and transform and take from maybe an average property to an above average property, and we get to do the same thing on the residential side too.
Yeah, just like staging a house, you stage land. It's the same. So yep.
Well, I think that's about it for today, unless somebody has anything
No.
they want to.
That's all I got.
All right,
We'll
that's
bring more next time.
Oh, yeah.
that's it. We're out.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
everybody.